And we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media broadcasting live on the worldwide Coalition Network here at the GoLocalLive Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city we love, Providence, Rhode Island, La Prov, the naked city, the city, as we like to say, of about 300,000 stories. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership at CoalitionRadio.us. We're on Spreaker, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeart, hopefully iTunes soon. Winding our way through the world of independent media, trying to swim past all the outrage porn, the noise, the foolishness, the puppy dog videos, the NFL clip videos. But I'm pleased to have someone joining me for the first time in the studio who joined us a few months ago. His name is Felipe Martinez. He is with the Independent Drivers Guild of Boston, which is part of a network of drivers guilds popping up around the country representing rideshare drivers. Now, this is an issue near and dear to my heart. I say that because, as many of you know, I've said this before, I am a part-time rideshare driver. So I bring, I think, a little bit of street creds.
You do.
I have done close, just about to hit 3,000 rides, which for a part-time, and there are people who listen to this video who have done 10 and 15,000 rides. To you, I say, we are not worthy. If you, the sheer physical stress and the sheer strength of focus to do that, as someone who's at 3 o'clock in the morning, been on ComAv, and left the clicker, left the app on for that one last ride. What could possibly go wrong? And then ended up at the University of New Hampshire one night at 4:30 in the morning. I know your pain. I really, really do. And that's why I want to make this a regular focus on the show, because rideshare has transformed America. And one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is some of the issues where government is looking to either find additional ways to monetize rideshare or ways to quote-unquote crack down. All right, let's look at the benefits here. Rideshare has taken countless impaired drivers off the road. Rideshare is routinely promoted, at least on the safety public service announcements, by a variety of state and federal transportation agencies as a healthy and safe alternative to driving late at night. For again, it could be sleep issues, sleep deprivation, it could be substance use. We have introduced market efficiencies into an industry that was literally crumbling, was as bereft, if you will, as bankrupt as a 76 Crown Victoria. And if you guys are cab drivers, you know exactly what I mean. So the sheer power of good that rideshare brings to America, I'd like to point out, I do it largely here in Providence, occasionally in Boston. Yeah, Boston drivers, I'm one of those guys. Yep. All right. The sheer number of young women who have not had to walk home, who've been able to leave a date that wasn't working out well, who was able to leave a bar safely with a degree of anonymity in a college town is staggering, and it grotesquely outweighs, exponentially outweighs, the few tragedies that have taken place. And governmental agencies and certain private industries desire to conflate those and inflate those to a larger scale. I find disgusting. I am a huge fan economically of what the rideshare industry has done for this country. To a large degree, people who are rideshare drivers are paid public servants. They drive at times of night when government has decided they cannot operate mass transportation. They take people to work. Here in Rhode Island, a significant part of the population I would classify as working poor. To those folks, I ascribe a high degree of dignity. I say that not to be the pejorative, but to be given a frank, honest assessment of the economics that these folks face all day. Many of them are personal home health care workers who, because of the utter failure of RIPTA here in Rhode Island and a variety of regional mass transportation agencies in New England, have literally no other way to get to work. And yet these people soldier on in some of the most challenging jobs in America, and it's rideshare that gets them there. And then we've got the rideshare drivers, who are faced with increasingly difficult working conditions, who have found the monetary rewards cut significantly, and who in some cases, like my guest, are seeking to organize to gain, very simply, market clout. There is dignity in market clout. Governments, private organizations, banks, manufacturers organize, merge, engage in partnerships all the time to gain control and create control of the marketplace they operate in. I'm a fan of unions because the working man or women, in this case, should have the same options. And I believe in what Felipe and folks in New York are doing because, quite frankly, they're willing to act on your behalf to simply give you the opportunity at a better life. And on that, I'll get off my pedestal and welcome Felipe to the Collusion.
Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I appreciate it.
No, listen, appreciate you making the trip down from Boston. And if you pick up any rides on the way home, you'll see exactly what we're dealing with here in Rhode Island in terms of, if you think it's bad in Mass, the reason why, folks, guys like me, and I have a Mass plate, so you won't catch me, but the reason why we're all up in Massachusetts, quite frankly, is because the rates here stink. It's a function of the local economy to a certain degree, but the rates here are atrocious. So the last time we spoke, it was in the run-up to we can't use the strike word.
Action.
Job action. How about
job action?
Yeah.
Yes.
People get upset if we use the word strike.
They do. You're absolutely
They take
right.
it really, really personally.
Yes.
Not sure why.
Don't understand.
There's dignity in the word strike.
That's right. There's
power. People in the 19th century died.
That's right. They did.
To organize as labor and to strike.
For us today.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. So why would we want to honor them? So anyway, post job action. First of all, how would you rate the job action? What's your honest thoughts about it?
So the job action in Massachusetts, we had a solidarity action of a work stoppage in Massachusetts. The numbers of our members, the Boston Independent Drivers Guild, was small, but there was about 40 or 50 of us. We went to the Saugus hub in Saugus, Massachusetts, the Uber hub, and we shut the hub down, building traction, letting people know that we're out there and, we want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Right.
And there is a problem with the rideshare industry, and it's actually the unfair wages, unfair equality with workers' rights, misclassification in some cases. So like you said, the rideshare industry has been, it's a new economy. It's a gig economy. And it's something that the labor organizations and the federal government is unsure and unfamiliar with the whole totality of the gig economy. And this is where it comes with the drivers of sort of organizing for a better life or a better way or their market share of capitalistic to organize and seek representation.
There's, labor unions, as long as the membership is voluntary, is an expression of capitalism.
That's right.
People coalescing, organizing, simply to demand a bigger share of the economy.
That's right.
It's as American as apple pie.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a question. This is the softball question tonight. Are you aware of any time when, on a large scale, organizations have simply woken up one day and decided to pay their people more just because it was the right thing to do? Does that happen very often?
It doesn't happen. It does not happen. I mean, maybe Amazon going with the $15 an hour with a little bit of pressure, but if something needs to happen, not just with the gig economy, the wage, it hasn't changed in 20 years, and it needs to change at a level, maybe even at a federal level, and to start the ball rolling. And people need to start talking really deeply regarding labor issues and wage issues, and to get the population going, or the wage up, and bring the middle class, because the middle class is dwindling.
Right. No, and you do so. It's interesting because I'm a libertarian, so I'm not a big fan of the minimum wage. I find it to be counterproductive. That's another conversation.
Yep.
But at the same token, there appeared to be, during the discussion surrounding the action in the days preceding and post-action, there are folks who seem to take it almost as a personal insult that they would ask for more, that somehow, because this is a quote-unquote part-time job, you shouldn't expect more. I don't know, I'm not sure what to say to that. I mean, why wouldn't people want more?
I think there's a part of the workers that are scared of losing their part-time aspect of their job. They don't want to be employees. They feel like they're going to lose their independence. But when you notice that when the drivers, that it's roughly, I would say, 80% to 70%, there's a lot of immigrants at the airport, specifically Massport. You notice that there's, and they don't understand. Some of them are scared. Some of them don't want to get involved. They're happy with the wages that they're making. In some cases, there's no transparency. They don't know that their rates were even cut, believe it or not, because it's very difficult to...
No one's... Uber and Lyft are not going out there with big billboards and advertising the fact that they're cutting compensation to the drivers.
Exactly. They're not doing that.
No.
They're holding it, they're...
And there's constant moving target of, in the case of Lyft, what you still get the heat, you still get the heat map, but that doesn't necessarily translate into additional earnings. No. Now you've got these crazy little... My favorite one, by the way, is in Boston on the Charles. There are nights where if you park in the middle of the Charles River, you'll get an additional $7 or $8.
That's right.
You know where I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. It's very manipulated.
Right. All of a sudden you see cars like sort of parked at the edge of the river.
Yes.
You're wondering what's going on, and then you see all the Lyft lamps.
That's right. That's right.
That's magic. And now Uber's got this Pro thing, and inevitably they start out with really aggressive promotions on it. We give you X amount of money, and then you start to see it scale back. Now they're a private organization. Largely, they can offer this at will. They have the right to do it. It's up to us to demand more.
That's right.
Now, that's what's going on at the TLC, the driver. The operator level. On top of that, now you've got issues coming up where Massport, understanding that their mission is being ripped to shreds, where the county bus authorities are seeing drops in ridership, where you're seeing less parking at the airport, all because innovation has found a way to diminish the need for their services.
Yes.
So rather than find ways to react to that, take advantage of that, what does government always do?
They're raising the rates. They're raising fees to get into Massport. They're taking advantage. They're capitalizing on the Uber drivers and the amount of drivers that get into that airport. And in the state level, they're charging more fees to the corporation Uber and Lyft to be on the streets of Massachusetts. I'm not sure about Rhode Island.
Right, and here's the crazy part. By and large, a service is being provided that the state is incapable of providing, and rather than finding ways to increase the efficiency of their own transportation businesses, they engage in predatory practices against this. So now, in New York, you've got this whole crazy patchwork of laws now. If there are a certain amount of drivers in the busy zones, you have to be, but if you're not in the busy zone, you're going to get penalized. Now, what is Massachusetts? I don't know how to make sense of that whatsoever. And oh, by the way, someone's picking up a rider right.
There you go. Yes, they're everywhere.
Right in front of us, right here at 90 Way Boston. The Providence G is a very popular night spot for the young. It's probably just we're post happy hour now.
That's right.
Young lady's getting in. She's not going to have to walk around the streets of Providence at night. She's in air-conditioned comfort. She's going to be taken at a very cost-effective price directly to her destination. She's not. Hopefully, she had a couple cocktails and maybe dinner, and she's going to go home and live happily ever after.
That's right. Safely.
Oh, here it comes. You could count all night.
Yes.
The amount of people. And by the way, just as an unintended economic side effect, how many people now go out into urban areas at night who might not have otherwise gone out because of the affordable cost of transportation into the urban area?
It's crazy. It's the amount of people that are traveling. It's so easy and accessible right at the tip of your fingertip on your phone,
Right.
you'll be able to get someone.
A few years back, when this was gathering steam, during the day I work in the automobile business, transportation business, and I found myself in two spots, which I think are remarkable to talk about. I literally found myself at one point having dropped off a vehicle to a company, and the only place I could get a cell phone signal was at the edge of a cornfield in Pennsylvania. I called an Uber. 20 minutes later, they came. Another time, I was in Detroit. I dropped off a van to a company who were self-admitted urban pioneers in one of the edgier parts of Detroit. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, oh my, I don't appear to have a way to leave. I called Uber. 10 minutes later, some guy pulls up looking like something out of Mad Max. And I don't blame him, but he pulled up and got me the hell out of there.
Yep.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
So what is Massachusetts, I call it stupid government tricks. What's Massachusetts trying to do now? Let's talk about the airport first.
So the airport. What they're trying to do is they don't want the drivers to come in and drop off and leave. So starting in November, we haven't had all the details. The drivers are usually left in the dark.
Of course.
They have a
until we can get a ticket.
Exactly, and we're working on that. And that's why we created the Boston Independent Drivers Guild, to get a seat at the table. So Massport would like for the drivers to drop off the passengers in central parking and then pick someone up and then leave central parking. So what they're trying to do is consolidate all the drivers in one location and all the terminals in one location, so that it would be as an easy pickup, a drop-off, and then a pickup. But what they don't understand is that in some cases the drivers sit there for hours, because maybe an hour or 2 hours, because there are no rides to be left, or the profitability to wait an hour for a ride and then go right out to South Boston is only a $6 ride.
Right.
For an hour times wait.
Right. On top of that, let's look at the true customer here. The true customer here, of course, is the traveler.
Correct.
In my other life, I travel a fair amount. Not as much as I used to, but I travel a fair amount. If you're in sales, for example, you're carrying sample cases, you've got luggage. Let's say you're coming in from an international flight. The notion that you're going to then travel with your baggage from one of the terminals to a central location is ludicrous. It makes no sense. Just from a logistical level, you're creating an entire layer of traffic within the airport for no apparent reason.
That's right. And I think the reason for this is that Massport, I think they want people to use more transportation, get on the Logan Express, and obviously use their services more to, accommodate passengers in that way, to use their services, like the buses, the train system. It's unfortunate also with the taxis. The taxis will not, as we know right now, will not be put into central parking. They'll be able to get curbside pickups and drop-offs, no problems. So as of right now, we don't know if they're going to be in the same central parking as us. We were told that they were going to be at curbside still.
Which defeats the entire purpose of having rideshare.
Correct.
So now people will grotesquely overpay.
Yep.
And
it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense that. So we'll see how it happens. They did say at the meeting, because we did go to the meeting, they did allow us to talk. We went there and we just said that we would like to be part of the solution, not the problem. If there's any issues at Massport, we'd like to help out in any way possible. They said it's going to be a trial basis. So I believe it's millions of dollars, spending millions of dollars on a trial basis for 3 months. That's, and the devils are in the details at Massport. So we really don't know as taxpayers.
Right. So how much is this, do you feel, is pressure from the traditional taxi cab industry?
I really don't know. I am new. at the organizing aspect and
Right.
and all the labor groups that are being pushed in. You know, politics is a huge push in Massachusetts for everything.
Right.
I mean, you know, we're actually trying to get a seat at the table at the State House. We're working on a bill, S1090, which gives the drivers the right to seek collective bargaining. And that's with the State House. So we're trying to push an agenda for the drivers to seek collective bargaining rights.
And this is the Boston Independent Drivers Guild doing this.
Well, so we were advised by a senator of the bill. Someone else wrote the bill. So we're actually helping, as citizens, lobbying as citizens and as drivers, and we believe that this is a good bill, and we should be working on it a little bit more.
Right. So, and the point being, though, is that you've got drivers working largely as activists and volunteers on behalf of drivers, no matter how ungrateful they are.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And you're right. I think a lot of them don't understand what we're doing. A lot of them are scared. People are scared because, some of these people, some of the drivers do this full time. And imagine being an activist and doing this full time, you could get deactivated unjustly, unfairly, for no reason.
Right.
And now you can't support your family after that. This is one of the reasons why we created this organization as drivers. And this has been a social movement that's been spawned specifically on Facebook. This is how all the members met up. Because it is unfair. It's unfair that people get deactivated unjustly.
Right. And if anyone's familiar with the process, it's happened to them. It's capricious. There's no one to call. There's no one to talk to. There's no appeal. And folks who don't understand the industry would say, well, tough darts. They're an employer. They don't want to use you anymore. They don't have to. Well, they've asked you, the quid pro quo for you being a driver is that you either rent one of their cars at a high rate or you invest a significant amount of money in a vehicle that meets their mechanical standards. You engage in a lot of time actually doing the work with no guarantee that you're going to get paid. I mean, there are days where you can make $40. There's days where you can make $200 or $300.
That's right.
And you believe me, if you make $200 or $300, you earn every shekel of that.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely right.
So there is it's completely arbitrary. And that may sound great to some people, but if workers organize and force through just sheer volume these companies to understand that there should be standards before deactivation.
That's right.
I've seen on the variety of driver social media groups that I'm active in, I'm in probably all of them.
Like all of us.
Right. I've seen these posts by drivers who got deactivated, in some cases with thousands of rides, with very high ratings.
That's right.
Based on claims made by passengers.
That's right.
Which can be completely undocumented.
Yep.
Drivers have had to resort to spending hundreds of dollars on cams, driver cams, and there's still no avenue for appeal to even submit the video evidence that would purport.
That's right. They won't even let you submit the video evidence. You can't even submit video evidence.
As if to say, and people say, well, that doesn't make any sense, and because they're constantly trying to recruit drivers. They're recruiting drivers based on market hype that, quite frankly, is failing to meet the reality of most drivers' conditions.
That's right.
If you're in a position financially where you can go with one of the larger vehicles and you can provide the high-end service, then there's still a chance to make some decent coin.
That's right. Like that's a Uber Black service.
Right.
Or Uber XL Black. But don't forget, you still have drivers that drive Uber Black that they invest $70,000 in a Cadillac Escalade.
Yeah.
A real big one.
Yep.
And then they could potentially get deactivated a month later.
It's happened.
It happens. It happens all the time.
And you're stuck with a payment.
Yep.
And so, whereas Lyft and Uber have no responsibility or legal obligation to behave in any other type of manner, it's the marketplace where a coalition of employees organizes with people, and I'm going to explain the other purpose of a union, where people organize, and in the case of most labor unions, if management at a shop does something so inhumane, the other union people just simply shut down and walk off the floor, and they've got the legal protection of a union to do so.
That's right.
As importantly, you're talking about going up onto Beacon Hill. No one in business should ever be their own mouthpiece in a legal situation. As I say, I'm from Jersey. What do I mean by that? If you go up, what's the old line about lawyers? It's only the fool who represents himself in court.
Mm-hmm.
If you think as an individual, you've got the skills, the talent, the time to go up and somehow make a difference up at City Hall, you're hallucinating. The strength in numbers is amplified by having people who are in a position to represent you as an organization. And in doing so, separate you from that direct conflict between management of the organization that you work for and the events of the day. It's not you, the driver, staring down the guy up at Smith Hill, the lobbyists and the paid managers, mouthing bleepity bleepy view. It's the representatives of you. And you can go back and then say, well, that Felipe gets a little emotional at times. Love it every minute of it. Right? That's why you have a union.
That's right. We're trying to build worker solidarity within the rideshare industry.
Right.
We feel the drivers, they deserve to be represented through the Boston Independent Drivers Guild or with a union so that they won't be taken advantage of, and they have certain rights. And
they have recourse.
And they have recourse because...
Right now, no recourse exists.
No recourse.
At any level.
No, nothing at all. It's all corporate. It's all... there are ways, but it's very difficult. People don't understand how to contact. There's no one to contact Uber or Lyft in the country. It all goes outside. You have to go to the hubs, which are the small little offices, Uber and Lyft offices. In some cases, they're not very helpful.
Right. You're essentially walking into a table, folding table that's been set up very often at a Pep Boys or retail store.
That's right.
A couple of employees.
Yep.
Most of them are really nice people.
Yep.
They try to be helpful, but Lyft and Uber have created a management model that's being emulated in the gig economy everywhere, where it literally is the man behind the curtain.
That's right.
There's some man or woman behind the curtain somewhere else that's making the decision, and they're intentionally removed from any contact whatsoever. You can call these people. You cannot call them. You can send them an email. You're sending it to a blind email, support@fillintheblanks.com, and that's it. Now, that's your livelihood. And again, this is supposed to be a partnership.
That's right.
You've invested a significant amount of money and time to become part of this program, and all of a sudden...
Nothing.
People wouldn't accept that in their own lives.
No, not at all.
Why should drivers?
That's right. That's why, not many Uber and Lyft drivers know this in Massachusetts, because there's been a core group of drivers going to the State House every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. The Labor Department or lawmakers at the State House are getting ready to ask Uber and Lyft to publicly come to Boston and answer questions that we, the drivers, have told the state regarding issues, regarding work issues, labor issues. Mm-hmm. The state of Massachusetts is now going to be getting public answers from Uber and Lyft, hopefully in October and November. This is a huge win that a core group of drivers can go to the State House and finally get Uber and Lyft into the state of Massachusetts and have to publicly answer questions.
Right.
And that's the power
of organization.
And I implore all the drivers out there, if you don't believe in the agenda, at least look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, look, you can stand up for yourself. Because a lot of drivers, it's very, on the Facebook groups, it's amazing on how much bashing goes on in the Facebook groups of the drivers who are organizing. It's amazing.
It's bizarre. I think back during the Stop and Shop strike, and there was this public outcry from people who worked at Walmart and places like that. I would never belong to a union. It's un-American. Well, you sure showed us. You're willing to work for less money, less terrible working conditions. Boy, you're the man. You and I have spoken a whole bunch of times now. I'm a chatty kind of guy. When someone says to me they're going to stand on principle and make less money, I don't got to come back to that. I'm not sure what principle that is either.
Yeah.
That's a principle. I mean, did you let someone, smash your lunch when you were a kid and stuff you in a locker? I mean, if that's the principle you're following, because that's essentially what you're doing to yourself.
Yes, I agree.
The companies need the drivers just as much as the drivers need the companies.
Exactly.
It's a symbiotic relationship, or at least should be.
It's changed. When Uber and Lyft came into Boston, the drivers were getting 80% of the fare. And they were also getting the closest ride to them.
Right.
But now, the drivers get the closest ride to them that makes the most profitability for Uber and Lyft.
Right.
It's the algorithm that's building profitability for the Uber and Lyft, not the drivers. Right. And we feel as drivers, we just want them to know, Uber and Lyft, that we're ready. We're organized. And Uber and Lyft need to stop colluding with each other. Once one company lowers the rate for the drivers, a week later, the other one. That's collusion.
I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah. Yes. That's what they're going to say when they come to Boston. And
right. No, yeah.
And the true capitalism is when the drivers are standing up for themselves in nationally, because there is a national campaign of roughly, I would say, 15 rideshare organizations, California, Philadelphia, Atlanta, in its building. And we're getting smarter.
Right. No, and it's becoming, the organization is becoming more professionalized.
Yes.
I mean, the organizations like the New England Limousine Association, organizations that are representing cab drivers, I mean, these have been around for, well, almost as long as automobiles have been around.
That's right.
They have ample resources and funds to just fight the status quo and allow this to continue. And what's always amazed me, I've seen this regionally on a few occasions, where local cab companies will commission an app, and instead of crying about their situation, have sought to become more competitive.
Yeah.
That notion seems to be missing completely in Boston.
That's right.
You've got a mayor who is just a rehash of the former mayor, who just simply believes he's married to. And here's the irony: these are two mayors, Menino and now this guy, who were married to trade unionism, who were supported by trade unionism. And now, I think the political case to be made is that they're dumping on trade unionism because it isn't called a local. Maybe what needs to happen is the Drivers Guild needs to be called Local 93 or Local 87, because they don't seem to regard us as labor unions. In effect, we may not have the certification, we may not call ourselves a labor union, but we're starting to behave like one.
That's right. That's right. We are. We're adapting and we're growing, and we're changing the way organizing is happening, because again, this is a gig economy. Mm-hmm. This is a changing economy, even with Amazon drivers, food delivery drivers, right. Instacart. There's so many other companies out there that gig work.
Right, and they need to go. One of the things I'm going to suggest, just because I don't blabbermouth, I think we need to all take a quiet, drive and really kind of a tour of Logan Airport, all of us, one afternoon, maybe around. I don't know. I hear it's kind of busy around Sunday, around 4.
Yeah. That would be a perfect time to just tour the airport.
understand where the new facilities are.
Yeah.
Kind of driving, observing all traffic and safety rules, driving slowly.
Yeah.
Creating an example for cab drivers and the buying public, and just kind of go round and round
and look.
Round and look.
Yes.
Wave.
About 500 drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we want everybody to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shut the damn place down.
It could potentially happen. It could potentially happen. It's not up to me. It's up to the drivers.
Right.
The good thing about this guild is it's very democratic. It's there's a big, huge racial diversity in this group, and I'm so proud of the members. The only thing I ask is that there would be more women involved. We need more women because the women have a voice. And when we started this group, we wanted every spectrum of racial, women, everyone to be involved in this group. And
there are so many women drivers.
Oh, there are. There's a lot of women drivers out there. Right. And they, some of them have said they've gotten attacked. They're scared to drive, specifically when someone sits behind them. They don't know what's going to happen. So we want everybody's voice to come out and be represented.
Right. For someone who often drives in a non-urban environment, there are very few places to pull over, to rest, to relax. To
That's right.
Restrooms. Try pulling over, taking a nap, and for how long before you get to knock on the window? Where's your license? Where's your ID?
That's right. That's right.
For a state that preaches safe driving, there are precious few places to rest or take a break.
That's right.
Yet we continue to provide a service to millions of citizens of the Bay State and Rhode Island.
In 2018, there was 7 million rides that went to and from the airport in 2018. 7 million rides. Mm-hmm. And we're working on something right now at Massport. They only pressure wash the bathroom 3 times a week in the men's bathroom. It's a disaster. Everybody knows that when you go to the TNC lot at Massport, it's a disaster.
Right.
And it's unfair. And we shouldn't be treated like that because some of us are driving for 3 hours at a time. We need to go to the bathroom when we get to Massport. And when you go there, you can't even use the facilities. It's so disgusting. And we're working on that with the Guild. We're working on getting some drivers. We actually have a permit for Massport on Monday to go there to talk to drivers about the restrooms and about workers' rights and to recruit more drivers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I look at this situation over at the casino.
Yes.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, these are state-sponsored, even though the casino is privately owned.
Yes.
Who came up with that madness?
It's very busy there. It's busy Thursday, Friday, Saturdays.
Right.
Yes.
And you're in a satellite lot.
That's right.
You have, and folks who aren't drivers need to understand it. So you go to the airport, you go to the satellite lot at Encore.
That's right.
You wait in line. The app is incredibly efficient, if you will, in tracking who came when, what order they're in. What folks don't know is that because you have to follow the state-sanctioned process, you could sit there, as you said earlier, for 20 minutes and a half hour, and you could get a $5 fare.
That's right.
So the state, over at Encore in particular, there's not nearly enough parking.
Not at the Encore, no.
Right. There's not nearly enough mass transportation to it.
Nope.
If it wasn't for the rideshare drivers, this would be a complete bleep show.
Yes.
It is a bleep show,
yes.
but it would melt down if
yes.
it wasn't
yes.
for Uber and Lyft.
Yes. Well, they're working, in the state of Massachusetts at the casino, they are working on people taking the transportation. There are some transportation, like the bus. They have a boat that goes there.
But how do they have this figured out ahead of time? I mean, you knew what the capacity of the casino was. You knew in particular for the first few months, first year, that there's always, anytime something like that opens up, there's a tremendous novelty attraction to it.
Yes.
You knew you're going to have people. And on top of that, not only is it new, as a result, people are unfamiliar with how to get around. How, with the intensive process with which that was built, how was that allowed to be opened up in a manner like that?
I'm going to be very frank with you. I've only done 3 rides at the Encore, and I don't even know where the Encore lot is for the drivers. And I've only done 3 rides there. There's no communication. There may have been an email blast through Uber and Lyft where to go, but there's no signage or anything for the Lyft rideshare drivers.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah.
You know, you have to navigate to it.
Yep.
Which means following this circuitous path.
Yes.
Which is all downtime.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
in which we don't get paid.
Right. In the case of Lyft, you still have no allowance whatsoever for long pickups.
No.
And at the same time, Lyft can, even though they don't use the acceptance percentage to calculate the bonus anymore, at the same time, that can be held over your head as a way of being.
Well, Lyft, they offer personal bonuses. So Uber, it's interesting. You know, I drive mainly Uber. I don't drive Lyft as much. So I guess everybody's has their own degree of how their bonuses work.
Right.
I think it's a very unfair system with the bonuses. There are actually a lot of people have said that they're going away. They haven't received bonuses anymore, and it's decreasing their pay
to the point where it's not affordable. And folks need to understand that they've gotten used to cheap rides.
They have.
Folks have forgotten how expensive cab fares were before the advent of Lyft and Uber.
That's right.
You know, in many cases, we're taking the cost of a cab ride and slicing it by 50, 60, 70%. So you can, in the city of Providence, you can go anywhere downtown here for under $5.
Wow.
The minimum ride for a driver, folks in Massachusetts, if you're listening, again, this is why we come up there. The minimum ride, with no guarantee of tip, as you know, is $2.25.
Wow. Yikes.
Yikes. Whereas in Massachusetts, it's 3 cents.
That's right. That's right. That's
Now,
even still yikes.
Right. Now, $1.50 may not sound like a lot to the average consumer, but $1.50 times, for guys who are doing it full time, 80, 100, 200 rides, you're talking about the difference between making a living.
That's right.
And knocking away. You know, so when you look at the totality, you've got this incredible application, which has been fleshed out now to the tune of millions of riders a year, who are able to save vast amounts of money at a heightened level of convenience, through the rating system are able to ensure that they're going to get the best possible service.
That's right.
All right? And at the same time, they won't afford the drivers the opportunity to have a single bit of dignity.
Not at all.
Pretty pathetic.
It is.
And yet at the same time in Massachusetts, you're surrounded by a government that is supposedly pro-worker.
How many, so in Massachusetts, there's 190,000 rideshare drivers in Massachusetts. How many are in Rhode Island, do you think?
I don't know.
There's no state.
No, I'm not saying that the number isn't published. I've just never seen it published.
Yeah. So there is, according to, I believe, the Department of Transportation, because there is query checks that have to get done in Massachusetts.
Right.
So they do have the number. It's 190,000 strong rideshare drivers.
If 5% of them showed up on a given day and said, we want to demonstrate for our rights, change the world.
Change the world. Change the world. And that's our step, little by little, is to get as many drivers on board with our agenda, to get on their agenda, to stick up for themselves.
Right.
And that's the most important thing, is for the drivers to stick up for themselves. We're just an intricate part of volunteers and drivers. I'm a driver.
How often do you drive?
I was driving full-time, but in November, when they cut the rates dramatically, I live out in the burbs, and I was doing a lot of airport runs. It cut my rates down to about 50%, 50 to 40%. It was bad, so I cut my hours. Once in a while, I do a 50-hour week, once every couple weeks. But I've cut my hours down, and it's not, it's hard. I mean, I'm not working as hard as other drivers. In Massachusetts, you can only drive for 12 hours.
Right.
But some drivers have a little trick where they turn on the other app, and they do another 4 or 5 hours. They're doing 16, 17 hours, some of these guys.
Right, which is essentially
unsafe.
what you need to do to make a living.
Yeah. Yes. It's very sad. It's very sad.
Yeah. And so
Uber wants empty vehicles on the street. They want as many empty vehicles on the street. Uber, with their algorithm, can keep every single driver busy, make every single driver $50 an hour, but they're refusing to do it. They need those drivers on the street. Because if drivers were making like $50 an hour like they did six years ago, they wouldn't have drivers on the road. Drivers would stop driving. So they need as many drivers on the road. Oh, there's another one.
Yep.
Another Uber driver. They're everywhere.
Yep. All shapes, sizes, cars.
That's right.
You name it. And guess where the guy's going? Now, one bar up the street here has accounted for what, 7 or 8 rides since we've been sitting here looking out the window at the Underway Boston Street in Providence?
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, if there's anybody out there in the next few minutes who's driving by who might be listening, feel free to drive by, honk, throw something at us.
Yeah, they drive by right here. This is great.
So you've had to cut your hours.
Yes.
In part also because of your activism.
Yep. Yes. And I think a lot of the volunteers have cut their hours, and because I'm the chairman of the board, and I am so grateful for the volunteers that are helping, because I see the sacrifices. I see the anguish in their faces when they're helping at the State House and they're volunteering. They're going to the airport. They're going to the board meetings. They're trying to recruit drivers. They're working really, really, really hard. And I and the drivers out there owe these guys respect, because they're working really hard. We're all working hard. Even you giving us the voice tonight. Everybody is trying. The people that are helping us are doing their fair share, and I totally have a lot of respect for many of the drivers that are helping with the Boston Independent Drivers Guild.
All right, so give folks where they can find you on the web.
So you can go to bidg.org, Boston Independent Drivers Guild on Facebook. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to check us out. If you have any questions, you can always contact us. And I really do this. I personally like doing this, and I tell a lot of people, if you know anybody who's gotten deactivated in Massachusetts, it's hard because I can't go to all these different states. If you know someone who's gotten deactivated, before they give up, don't let them give up hope. Have them contact us, because we've been trying to go with some drivers and have like a buddy system where if you get deactivated, we'll go with you to the hub and we'll ask the questions, mm-hmm. We'll get the names, we'll get the numbers, and we'll try our hardest to get you back and reactivated. It's no guarantee, but that's why we're here. We're rideshare drivers supporting rideshare drivers. And even if you don't believe in the agenda, we'll still help you. Those are the people we want to help the most.
Excellent. Well, best of luck to you. God bless.
Thank you so much.
And keep me posted on what you guys are doing.
Will do.
I really, really want to go for that airport ride. I like to watch the planes.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
When I was a little boy, my father would take me to the airport.
Yes.
We watch the planes.
That's right.
And so I'd like to drive around and watch the planes. Shut the damn place down for a day, and then you'll see what they're dealing with.
Yeah, that would be really nice. I mean,
Only take about 100 to 200 of us.
I agree.
And we'd make national news.
I agree.
Let's work on that.
Yes.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
All right. Felipe Martinez of the Boston Independent Drivers Guild, preaching solidarity and economic opportunity to rideshare drivers in the greater Boston, Providence area. Not only economic opportunity, but also dignity in hard work. There is always dignity in hard work, but one must also demand respect from those who one works for. When rideshare drivers around New England have earned this respect, it's time for them to receive it.
That's right. Solidarity.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. We are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media, broadcasting live on the Worldwide Coalition Network here at the Go Local Live Broadcast Center, deep in the heart of the city we so love. Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, on the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and of course the mothership at coalitionradio.us. Fellow drivers, and remember, I drive too. If you take a moment, if you enjoy the show, if you hear this tonight or in the coming days as we spread it around social media, you can take a moment and follow us on Facebook and give us the opportunity to earn your trust as well. Again, facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, or if you follow us on Twitter at Coalition_radio. We're going to take a quick break right now. We've got a special guest. They're all special. Coming in at 8 o'clock, we go into the Libertarian Hour. We're going to have a gentleman named Hicks who's running for the gubernatorial race, the governorship of the great state of Kentucky. He'll be with us in just a couple minutes. Thanks, lad.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.